Welcome back to Football Saddos. Today we're going to be doing a combined 11 video of Arsenal versus Spurs, who are taking on each other in this. What are you doing this time? What are you, a cowboy or something? Fucking hell. North London derby this weekend. Arsenal versus Tottenham, the Emirates Stadium. Today we are joined by Niall Moran, as he has done before. And pretty much we're going to do a 4-3-3, okay? 4-3-3 formation, starting off with a goalkeeper. I think it's probably going to be between Lloris and Leno. Sam,
Matt Ryan.
We'll go for you first.
Well, that's a little bit like saying, it's going to be between the Democrats or Republicans, whoever rules the United States of America. I mean, they're your two best players between the two teams. I think for me personally, it's going to be Hugo Lloris. I think, in my opinion, I'm not being biased here, he's just overall a better goalkeeper. French international, shot stopping is second to none. Maybe his distribution. You know what? I would say actually his distribution this season, I've seen a lot of improvements to it. Don't get me wrong, I think Leno has shown himself to be a good goalkeeper as well, but I think the table speaks for itself. The amount of goals conceded, the amount of clean sheets this season. I'm going for Hugo Lloris in goal for this one.
No, got any objections?
Well, I'm obviously going to say Leno. It is, as you say, it's a very 50-50 thing. They're both quality goalkeepers, both probably one of our best players. Leno, I think, is in a worse team, and I'm not sure about the stats, but I've watched Arsenal and Tottenham this season. Arsenal have taken way more shots against them, so I'm not surprised Leno's conceded more goals. So what do you think about this, Dan?
What do I think about this? Well, when you've got centre-backs like Davinson Sanchez and Eric Dyer, along with an ageing Toby Alderweireld, it's not like Lloris has got it much easier because he too has been put in a bit of a pedestal. So I don't think it's quite, I wouldn't say it's unreasonable, but I don't think you can just go and then say Lloris has had less work to do. Because believe me, I've been getting PTSD this season watching some of our defending, and then it's all hands on Hugo Lloris to basically try and save us there. And, he's had some bad spells, maybe some saves where he should have pulled off. But it's still the same goalkeeper for me that really stands out when we have a bad defence.
I think Leno especially, as that's a step up this season. Obviously, at the start of the season for Arsenal, it was a mix between Martinez and Leno. And Leno, without having any input in the FA Cup win we did, somehow won that. We sold Martinez to Aston Villa. Martinez has shown he's one of the best goalkeepers.
He's fantastic.
So I think the fact that everyone at Arsenal thought that Leno was better than Martinez kind of shows the quality that Leno has. And the fact Leno has come back from injury this season, he's jumped straight back to his best. His quality is good. I think Lloris has height on him. So in terms of long shots and stuff, it's definitely Lloris snap out. But I do think in terms of just pure shot stopping, I think Leno is superior there, but not by much. But Leno recently has made a lot more mistakes and errors, which are a little costly. But then again, if you look at Hugo Lloris, he has also been susceptible to making mistakes. If you look at the World Cup final, for instance, he let that goal in, which is very similar. I think they're very similar players. So personally, I would pick Leno, but not by much. I think it's very close. So,
Well, you say that, but you're just going to be living in the past if you cherry pick every single mistake a player has made. Because if I want to do some cherry picking, then I'm going to cherry pick that from last season, Hugo Lloris was our most improved player, especially coming back from a horrific injury that me and Dan saw for ourselves at Brighton, to then pull off this quality and be able to really help us out and get us out of trouble, with his cat-like reflexes. I think for me, it's a no-brainer for that reason. But we've discussed enough. The final say goes to Idan. So Idan, decide your pick now.
I think for me, just overall sort of general experience as well, in terms looking at their experience, I would go for Lloris personally. I know that both goalkeepers do have a mistake or two in them, but I think for this one we'll go for Lloris. Now, Dan, we're going to go over to right back. We have a few interesting options. We've got Serge Aurier, Doherty. We've got Hector Bellerin,
Cedric as well. Although he's been playing left back, I know recently.
Who are we going for right back? Because I know that right back is kind of like a weak spot for both teams at the moment.
I'm gonna be polite and let Niall go first on this one.
All right, so I agree. Both teams have weak spots, and obviously, I don't think either of us are going to big up our players that much in this position. So I think if we're going to decide
Speak for yourself.
I think we have to look at who's worst. So I'm not a fan of Bellerin at all. I think Bellerin's one of our weakest players on our team. I think Cedric is very strong, especially on the offense. And I think he's one of the most underrated players in Arsenal's team. Every time we've had a great victory, he's just happened to be there. He can score a lot of goals. So what about Tottenham?
Look, as much as I like Doherty, I do like him. I do think we've been quite harsh on him, but I am going to go for Serge Aurier. Definitely having watched consistently throughout this season and all our games, I think Aurier was kind of underrated last season. It's just he had so many brain dead moments that outshone his good moments. Whereas this season, he's been so much less error prone. Really, I only remember one game in particular that he even had an error in, and it was the Leicester home game where no one really was that good that game. But otherwise, this season he's been so much better defensively. He's pocketed a number of great players. Mate, he pocketed Aubameyang in the last North London derby. He's been absolutely outstanding for us this season, and I think a lot of it's due to Matt Doherty signing that we've just seen the best of Serge Aurier. So, look, I genuinely think this is one of the positions where I know you said that we wouldn't feel too confident about a number of these players. Sergio, I think, hands down, has to have this spot. In terms of if you've watched us throughout the season, you know that he has just been outstanding. And when we don't have him, we really miss him. I will just say that in terms of Cedric, I can see the offensive aspects to him. And Aurier this season hasn't been as good offensively, although he is a great outlet down the right-hand side. He was absolutely amazing against United. But from what I've seen as well, although Cedric has had good games, I remember specific stinks he's had against Aston Villa, for example. Yeah. So look, this is me trying to be unbiased, but I would go Aurier.
I would be with you on Aurier on this. I think Aurier is probably superior out of the four.
Fair enough. I think this one is sort of similar to the last debate in terms of the goalkeepers. I think I haven't seen too much of Cedric, although when I have sort of heard things of him, I know that he's played quite well. But I think for this case, we'll go for.
It's interesting. I think Cedric's had better games as a left back when I've watched.
Fair enough.
Which is quite interesting.
For the next one, we'll do it in one take. Centre backs. Who's your centre back pairing? Sam, we'll go with you first.
What, you want me to say both centre backs?
Yes, two centre backs.
Two centre backs. Okay, that's a bit of a difficult one because for me,
you've had a sort of very sort of complicated. You've had loads of different centre back pairings this year. Eric Dyer, Toby Alderweireld. You've got Sanchez and Dyer. Then you've got Rodon and this, and then you might bring Ledley King back, and then you might even bring your reserves back. It goes on and on and on and on. So who's your centre back pairing?
I wouldn't say we had a lot of centre back pairings. We've mainly had to work with.
We really have.
No, but not that
so interchanged.
Hang on a second. Not that many to pick from, but yeah, we have interchanged from what we've got.
Yeah.
But personally, for me, I've even said it when Dyer's been playing well that I'm just not a fan of Dyer, and there's always just something waiting bad to happen. I don't personally want to see Dyer play. For me, Toby Alderweireld is a matured centre back who is aging. I say mature because he knows the game. Maybe his weak point is definitely trying to hold off set pieces, but that is a team issue, not just on Toby Alderweireld. Sanchez as well, I've been pretty impressed with maybe the last few games, but again, I have similar views about Sanchez, just like I have with Dyer. I gotta say that when Gabriel was first playing, I thought, that's actually a decent signing, to be fair. I think he scored on his debut, didn't he?
Against Fulham.
Yeah. The problem is, it's just easier to just maybe change the rules of football and not have centre-backs and -2 to 11-9. Genuinely. Sorry to steal your joke there on the private chat, Dan. I think overall, though, I'm going to just go for Toby Alderweireld and Davinson Sanchez. I honestly, all the centre-backs for both sets of teams is just not impressive, and I'm only... look, I'll hold my hands up. I'm being biased with that decision, but sue me. Go, next.
I'd like to make a case for Niall. Could you put Pablo Mari in there? I think he's been very impressive this season.
Pablo Mari is one of the most underrated defenders on both teams, honestly. Every time he's played, he's been amazing. Although I don't think he's played enough to be put team.
Like Cedric.
I don't think he's played enough to even be considered a team. In terms of just raw talent, I think he's up there. But my personal 2 picks for this would be Toby Alderweireld and Gabriel. Every time Gabriel's played, he's been quality. He's been the only shining star in our entire defense this season. If we've had a bad game, he's had a good game. If we've had a good game, he's scored a goal. Toby and Gabriel.
For the record, I'd 100% agree with that. I think Gabriel's been very consistent this season. He has had a few bad games, but much less than someone like Sanchez. So I'd completely agree.
Yeah, I can understand that, but if I look at the last few games, I think Sanchez has been okay. And it's just, look, Sanchez has got some pace in him that can help with counter-attacking strikers. Okay. Yeah, but his pace is unreal. Even though I'm not a fan of the guy, his pace is unreal. It's just like other people do say, these brain-dead moments that worries me.
Fair enough. So I think we're going to go for Alderweireld.
The adjudicator?
Gabriel over there.
Alderweireld and Gabriel. Okay.
The next one, I'm really looking forward to the next one because there's been a big debate about left backs this season. Okay. So obviously we think we can all agree that Andy Robertson.
Serge Reguilon, move on.
Bye, Sam. Crack on.
So, Niall, why are we putting Kieran Tierney in this spot?
So Kieran Tierney has had a link up with Saka all season, and in those games where it's looked hopeless for us, they have looked like they're the only way we're going to score. And in the games where we've absolutely destroyed teams, it's just been those two playing off each other. Even when we put a weaker left winger in there, or we have a poor midfield, Tierney starts attacking, he starts overlapping. He's really good. I think Sergio is a good player. I think he's quality, but I think Tierney is just slightly better, and I think he's got a lot more potential in him as well. I think there's a lot more to
That's a bit, but more potential.
Honestly, because you're looking at the likes of Andy Robertson. He's like knocking out the Scotland team. Like he's a top player.
Mate, if Sergio Reguilon was Scottish, he'd be knocking them both out, mate. Trust me. In terms of what you were saying, that they're roughly on the same level, I do think it is very close. I do think they are both quality left backs. But I have to pick Sergio. And this isn't even me trying to be unbiased. I've tried to have conversations with it before with people who don't even support either team. And most of the times we end up agreeing that Sergio Reguilon's better, just because I think he is as good offensively as he is defensively. And I don't necessarily think that for Tierney. I think he has...
Which part of Tierney's game don't you think he's good at?
Interesting, I was going to say, I think that often in games, there'll be one side of it that's lacking in games. Okay. Whereas Reguilon, whenever he's having a good game, which is most of the time, I haven't watched him have a bad game, he'll be as good attacking as he is defensively, and he'll bomb down the left wing and have the pace to get back to cover when someone like Hudson-Odoi, I remember, is sprinting down, and he'll just absolutely pace it back and put in a great tackle.
That's because he's already got 9 men behind the ball for him.
Yeah.
Look, I just think that he's absolutely amazing. His attacking output is great. When we don't have him on that left side, I think it's ridiculous. And although you make a good point, Tierney's link up with Saka has been good. I'm not sure we can put a player in on the basis of the link up with another player. It's on their own merits. And I just think Reguilon's better. I do think that Tierney's a great left back, and I think he will carry on to be a great left back. But, mate, Reguilon, definitely.
This one I think is too sort of heated. I think we're going to let... If there are any people in the comments to decide.
No, you decide. That's your job. Decide now.
And anyone can say what they think. You make the decision. I'll go with whatever one you say because I do think it is close.
Fine. I will go for Kieran Tierney on this one.
I can understand why. I can understand.
Finally, Chelsea. He's revealed himself. Right.
I mean, he's mentioned Chelsea before I have this video. Anyway, we're going to go for a 4-3-3. So centre defensive midfielder.
Oh, we are just going straight for defensive midfielder. I thought we were just going to do any kind of midfielders.
Yeah. No, so a defensive midfielder, and then after that we'll go for the two sort of more attacking midfielders.
All right. Okay, that's going to be interesting then. Defensive mid, you say? Yeah. Well, I know that Arsenal released AFTV released a music video about a defensive mid. We didn't. And it's quite funny how the most hyped defensive mid is compared to the one that wasn't very popular with fans, including myself at first. But I got to say, I think it's a no-brainer. It's got to be Højbjerg, you know. Højbjerg is the type of player with quality that if he has a bad day, you will hear Tottenham fans say, look, he's had so many great games. If he has that one bad day, he is only human. And that kind of does sum it up a bit, because the way the guy plays is like he's a robot. This guy knows how to control the middle. This guy knows how to back down to be almost a third centre-back. This guy's heat map in the North London derby the last time we played, he was everywhere. You'll get salty Arsenal fans that said, oh, man of the match because he runs around. But you've got to look at it more than just running it around, because he's the kind of player where you do not notice the quality that pops up, especially when he is literally grabbing that ball, getting in your ankles. It's a no-brainer for me. Højbjerg, the Viking, goes in that CDM role for the combined starting 11.
No more, and what you got to say for that? Thomas Partey, he's played in the Champions League. He's been there, he's done that. Yeah. So what have you?
Yeah. So this season, obviously, Højbjerg has stepped up. He's been He's been on form. He's been quality. But Partey, I think, is just on another level in terms of pure talent. You see, he's been injured a lot this season, so we haven't had a chance to proper see him shine. But when he has played, you can just see that raw talent when he plays. Like he's a world-class player in a pretty average team. And you can really see that we're currently trying to build a team around him. And although I do rate Højbjerg quite high, I think if we're just going off raw talent of players and players you put in a team, I think Partey he's on another level in that respect.
I just want to add something in here that you got to compare the players in terms of mentality as well. Being a CDM is one of the toughest roles, because you got to do a lot of running about and intercepting. All right. Let's compare the two situations. Tottenham versus Arsenal. Partey picks up a slight injury and there's a counter-attack going on. You've got Arteta literally shoving the man, saying, get back on the pitch. There's a counter-attack going on. All right. Tottenham versus Brentford. Højbjerg gets studded. His whole leg gets cut open. And Mourinho has to pull him back, stop him going onto the pitch because he wanted to carry on playing. I got to look at the individual as well. And for me, the individual has got to be Højbjerg, because Højbjerg loves the game and he will not stop.
I think that's a little bit of Premier League experience there from Højbjerg, though, because obviously he's played in the Premier League for a while with Southampton. And he knows that it is a much tougher, stronger game. Like Partey, he wouldn't expect a team to be that ruthless and just counter-attack when a player's limping off. And I think Partey is discovering that slowly. And I think you're going to see a more Yaya Toure type Partey next season. I think he's going to be a lot more aggressive, and he'll come back a different player. That's my prediction for Partey.
You say he's going to be a bit more of a Yaya Toure player. Let's hope he doesn't ask for a birthday cake when it's his birthday. I think this sort of debate is also kind of similar to the goalkeeper right back one in terms of maybe experience and kind of who's maybe been playing for long. I don't know. I'm very undecided about this one. I think maybe based on this season, decide. I will have to decide. I think I'm going to go for Højbjerg, but based on the fact that he's been very, very good this season. And Sam's surprised because
I am surprised
because he wanted Partey in there instead.
No, because you chose Tyranny over Regulon, so I thought, oh well, he's just going to choose any
balance. Anyway, guys, we have two midfielders in front of him, plenty to choose from. We've got Sissoko, Ndombele, Winks, Ceballos. Okay. You could put Xhaka there. You could put Martin Odegaard there, who's had a very positive impact this season.
So my two straight up, because I think one of them is world class, and I think one of them is Arsenal's best player. I'm going to say Ndombele and Saka. I think those
as a centre midfielder.
Centre midfielder.
Yep, as a centre midfielder.
Really?
Yep.
Saka. I don't think has he played there this season? I think he's more on the left, off the left and the right.
Saka's played in every position for Arsenal, but mainly left back, centre mid, right wing, and left. Okay. And Saka can play everywhere. I think you have to put him in this team, and I think he's not better in the right and left wing roles than some of the Tottenham players. So I think in this team particularly, I think centre mid's the only place he really fits in.
Okay, this is interesting because I'm now going to argue against Niall with one of his own players. because I'm going for Ndombele. I feel like Ndombele has to be in the team.
Yeah, he does.
He's been fantastic this season.
Outstanding player. And
magic.
God forbid, I will put my hands up and say there was one point in the summer where I was thinking just sell him so we can get Skriniar or whatever. 100% hands up. And I messed up. He is so good. So Ndombele has to be in there. But the other player I was going to put in there, weirdly enough, is Smith Rowe.
You reckon?
I just feel like, although I do agree with you, I love Saka. In terms of, you can never really say as a Tottenham fan that you love an Arsenal player. But in terms of who I think that Arsenal's perhaps most likable player is, and also probably their best player, I'd have to go Saka.
He's English as well, isn't he? He's English.
Yeah.
So
I think he's going to be an even better player. He's got so much potential. So I do think that he should be in the team, but I do feel weird about putting him centre mid.
When Smith Rowe scores a penalty in the last minute and shushes the Spurs players, you're going to absolutely regret what you've just said.
It won't happen. It won't happen because I remember Aubameyang had a last-minute penalty and Lloris shushed the Arsenal players. So no, that's not going to happen. Well,
look, I'm going to say Ndombele, and I'm going to say I would put Saka in here if I was more convinced, because I don't remember watching him at centre mid. I probably have done and just didn't think about it. But I feel like in terms of ahead of a holding midfielder, in terms of the team that we're making, especially I'm going to go for Smith Rowe because I think he's taken a lot of people by surprise this season.
I just think it would be dumb not putting Saka in this team because Saka, although Smith Rowe is quality and it's probably his position a little bit more, I think Saka, even in Smith Rowe's position, is a better player. I think Saka's levels above Smith Rowe.
Yeah, I'm willing to submit to putting Saka in now. I personally would put Smith Rowe, but I'm willing to submit to putting Saka in.
Yeah, what do you think, Sam?
What do I think? Well, I think it's on the basis that we've got Lo Celso injured. Even though, a lot of Spurs fans aren't a fan of him, I think Lo Celso would have deserved a spot there. But I can agree that we are going to have to accept one Arsenal player here because I personally, I'm not a huge fan of Sissoko. So Emil Smith Rowe and, surprisingly, Saka, because I didn't know he even played midfield, definitely do deserve a shot there because, you have to put your hands up and say they've been in good form.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would, if Lo Celso was fit, and maybe if we had Lo Celso last season, I would have to just be a little bit biased to make the argument of three Spurs players in midfield. But especially if we're going off Partey being injured and so on this season and not having the best season he would have, when I love Partey and I think he's a great player. Not now, but I did love Partey.
He'll be back stronger,
he will be back. But yeah, I'd agree to Saka there. Lo Celso, unfortunately.
Considering I've kind of planned the team in my head kind of for the next few positions, I think I'm going to go for Smith Rowe and for Ndombele because I think Smith Rowe has been really, really good since Arsenal needed that sort of creative player, especially against us. He was very, very, very good. So I think obviously Ndombele's been very, very good this season as well. I think we're going to go for Smith Rowe and Ndombele, which leads us to the front three. 2 wingers and a striker. For this one, I think we're just going to go one by one. Sam, who's your front three?
Who's my front three?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what the front three is, yeah? You're talking your Welshmen, you're talking your Englishmen, you're talking your South Korea, you're talking the best trio in the Prem, you're talking your clickbait Korean views, you're talking your England's best striker. I'm running out here. It's going to be Gareth Bale, Harry Kane. Oh, go away, Siri! Sorry, as I was rudely interrupted. Gareth Bale, Harry Kane, Heung-min Son. They've just been on great form. I know Son hasn't been scoring goals lately and has been a bit of a goal drought, but
he's been assisting.
Yeah, well, I was about to say that. He's been assisting, as Dan has pointed out, and he's still been getting involved. But you know what? I'm going to be bold here and say Son is going to break his goal drought against Arsenal. You've heard it here first.
Fair enough. Dan?
Look, I don't want to 2v1 it. I really don't. But I have to be true to myself. And this is where, like I said, you can make an argument on the right wing for Saka. You definitely can. But just in terms of the goal scoring abilities and the assist quality and the playmaking quality of each player, they've got something like between the three of them for Spurs season, I think it's like 92 goals or something. And between the front three of Pepe, Aubameyang and Saka, I think, which is your kind of traditional front three, unless I'm not mistaken, occasionally Lacazette. I think it's well over double what they've produced, which I know that's just numbers and you don't want to get misleading with stats, but that is ridiculous numbers. The fact that Bale has hardly played any games, he's been injured so often, and he's still got 10 goals, and I can't remember how many assists in those games. In the league, he's already got 5 goals in only, a handful of appearances. I just don't see an Arsenal player getting in that front three. The one I would make an argument for in previous seasons is Aubameyang, because having watched him previously at Dortmund, I know he's an amazing player and he's such a great goal scorer. But he's been crap this season. So the one you can make most of an argument for is Saka. So I just can't see anywhere ahead of the Spurs front three.
Let's see what Niall's got to say.
No, make your argument, mate. Yeah.
I thought you'd be more surprised by this opinion, but Dan's just said it himself. If you actually look at the positions these players play, Son is a left winger. And I think Son is better than Aubameyang. So Son gets a left wing for me. Harry Kane, no doubt, striker. But I would. So it's obviously between right wing. It's between Bale and Saka. And I personally think Saka's a better player currently. That's what I think.
Since he came into the team, he's been delivering, and I don't. And yes, I agree. Bale is probably at one point he was probably top 5 players in the world. But I don't think that for this current 11, it supersedes Bukayo Saka. So for me, the front three will be Son, Kane and Saka. And in addition to that, we talk about Saka playing left back, playing right wing.
All right.
Does that remind you of a Gareth Bale as well? He used to play left back, right wing, left wing. Very maybe not similar profile, but like...
Yeah, Saka is following a very similar path to...
Exactly.
I think that's a bit of a disrespect on Bale there, because he wasn't even, by the way, top 5. He was literally the 3rd best player in the world. He was the only player that was that level of quality outside Messi and Ronaldo, hence why he got his move to Real Madrid. And like I said earlier, class is permanent. And that's why you can't say these sorts of things about Bale, being finished. Because like Dan said earlier...
Never said he was finished. Finished.
I didn't say you said he was finished. But like I was saying earlier, what Dan said earlier, he ain't played in 2 seasons. Of course, you're going to see a tiny little bit of a decline in terms of performance because he hasn't been playing. But when you actually give him a chance and let him have his moment, you're slowly starting to see that build up a bit. But yet you want a kid to overtake Gareth Bale just because he's been a very good player in a very poor Arsenal side. I'm not taking it away, by the way. I think Saka is a good player, but come on now. Really, him over Gareth Bale, whatever, you do you.
Well, you could say the same about Mbappe and Haaland.
Manager,
guys,
we need to talk about manager.
We're going to talk about the manager. We're going to... Mourinho or Arteta?
It should be a quick one. Come on.
I'm not going to explain.
Niall, I need to just appeal to your common sense here. I think Arteta can be a good manager, but he's shown nothing so far. A little bit harsh. He has shown good football at times, but he's not shown anything that would put him on the level of even current kind of, non-prime Jose Mourinho. This should be, relatively straightforward, right?
I do agree. Mourinho, way better manager, but I don't want to straight up say that Arteta is a bad manager. I'm going to say that Arteta is a really good manager. He's improving almost every game he plays. He started off really poor for Arsenal. He's getting better and better. And I think the best thing Arsenal can do is just hold on to him for at least another 2 seasons. Doesn't matter how bad he plays. This is his first managerial job, we have to remember. So, Jose Mourinho, obviously way better. Or Jose Mourinho, sorry. But
just on Arteta quickly, I do think it's kind of the same as the whole Lampard debates, and people are talking about Gerrard a lot now. I do wonder if maybe it was a mistake getting him in so soon, and whether if you see him have that kind of journey from a lower club moving to a higher club and getting those bigger jobs.
Man City to Arsenal.
Yeah, smaller club to... Wait, no, I've fucked it up.
I understand what you mean by that. I completely understand what you mean by that. And I do think it is very dumb of Arsenal not to pick a really experienced manager. We haven't actually had a very experienced manager yet. Obviously, we've had Unai Emery, who was the manager of Seville, got a little lucky winning a couple, and then he got a massive budget at PSG, and you can't judge a manager's talent with a massive budget. Like, it's just not right. It's the same with Pep. We know Pep's quality. Even with that budget. But I think Arsenal should have got a world-class manager, a bit like what Tottenham have done now. and it's working a little bit for Tottenham, but there's obviously areas to go through. But yeah,
trophy.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what we hired Mourinho for. End of the day, for me, I think I ain't going to choose Pep's cone boy over Jose Mourinho, so it's going to be Jose Mourinho for me. But anyway, this is the
I can put for Arteta is he's won a trophy. That's the only thing.
Okay, I will give you that. He has won a trophy against Frank Lampard's Chelsea side. But this is our combined starting 11, as you can see here on the screen. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what changes you would make, perhaps. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you all in the next vid.